Welcome back to episode 180 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with Troy. Happy Sunday, Troy. What's going on, bud?
Happy Sunday. Not much. Trying to fix your computer problems, which we got resolved again.
It's so frustrating when you get a brand new computer and it doesn't do simple things. Yeah, my computer forgets that there's microphones and cameras, and then it doesn't want to play nice. But yeah, we got it.
We got it fixed.
Got it rolling. Sun's out. Playoff hockey time going on right now. So obviously, a great time of year. I didn't even look today at the scores, and we're recording like 2:30 our time, something like that. And saw the playoff. Yeah, it's like the Florida Panthers are built for the playoffs, right? Matthew Tkachuk comes out of his shell. Sam Reinhart picks it up where he left off, and they take game one over Tampa Bay, 3-2, something like that, right?
3-2.
Okay. And then I think right now was it Capitals and Rangers? 0-0.
0-0.
Then we had a couple games yesterday. What happened yesterday? I forgot.
Toronto lost 5-1, and then the Hurricanes beat the Islanders 3-1. So the Bruins beat the Maple Leafs 5-1. Hurricanes beat the Islanders 3-1.
I remember.
So now it's all anarchy in Toronto when we get there for the Expo. If they don't,
is it going to be a Grumpy Expo? Is that what we're going to have?
Or they don't get a win. It might be.
Oh man. Well. All right, well, we got a lot to get into, so we're going to get the show rolling. Just before we do, though, a very quick reminder that the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a Patreon podcast. That means we rely on support of listeners and watchers like yourself to help us cover the expenses it takes to create this show, produce more and hopefully better hockey card content, and fund initiatives, even in a small way, to grow the hockey hobby. It's very easy to support us. You can do it through Patreon. We have a $1.99 support level tier that starts at just $5 a month. That also gets you exclusive access to the Gong Show Discord server. To support us, you can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com. Click on the Become a Patron link at the top of the page. Go to the Patreon website directly, patreon.com. Search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. There's a link in the show description, whether you're listening to us on a podcast app or you're watching on YouTube. And then finally, there's a link in our TikTok and Instagram profiles. Wow, I motored through that, Troy. It's like I've done it 180 times.
Yeah, and it was funny because I just realized we had the share screen up the whole time. So we started the show sharing the screen. I think that's a first.
Well, we just had 40 minutes of pulling our hair out over audio drivers. So yeah, hopefully people will have a little bit of forgiveness for us in that regard.
All right,
go ahead.
All right, we had with the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 80. Then it's off to the final regular season edition of Who's Hot and the Struggle Bus. Next is Hobby News, followed by a segment where we take a look at if some of the legendary seasons we have seen from players this year has moved their hobby needle at all. Then we take a look at new product releases, followed by our Gong Show mailbag, and we end the show with any personal pickups. Okay, Josh, previously we looked at the greatest NHL player that wore the number that matched our episode number. We ran through all the numbers, so now we are looking at the almost greatest NHL player to wear each number from the runners up in the Hockey Writers' greatest NHL player to wear each number article. Josh, the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 80 per the nominees in the Hockey Writers' greatest NHL player to wear each number article, and selected by me is Kevin Weeks. We got a goalie.
Very untraditional goalie number, right?
Very untraditional goalie number. Look at these pads on this picture. If you're watching on YouTube, I mean,
those are pretty awesome.
This is before graphics were a big deal to put on pads, but he's playing for Carolina, and he's got, I don't know what is that, a Panther or what is that? I don't know.
I'm kind of confused what's going on there.
It could have been. It might be AHL pads or something, and he got called up. I'm not sure.
Oh,
but I'm totally not sure if that's the case. But maybe he just likes those pads. But anyways. There were no other runners up at number 80. As a reminder, the greatest to our number 80 was Nick Antropov.
Yep.
And he got it kind of by default. But anyways. All right. Kevin Weeks, goalie, Josh, from Toronto, Ontario. We speak it into existence earlier in the show. Talk about Toronto. Hey, he's from Toronto.
Yep.
Weeks was the 41st overall selection in the 1993 NHL entry draft by the Florida Panthers. Weeks played in 348 regular season NHL games over an 11-season NHL career. All right, Kevin Weeks, Josh. I think he is what we're going to call a journeyman in the sports world. Okay, check this out. Weeks began his career with one full season with the Panthers. Next was a full season with the Canucks. In his third NHL season, he spent time with Vancouver and the New York Islanders. Fourth season was with Tampa Bay. His fifth season, he split time with Tampa Bay and Carolina. He spent his sixth and seventh seasons with Carolina. Okay, we got some stability. Eighth and ninth season was with the Rangers. And his final two seasons were with the New Jersey Devils.
Jeez.
So by my mathematical ability, I counted 7 teams in 11 seasons. So
stop, Troy. It's not a math show.
They're not a math show. Pure definition of a journeyman. But he played 11 seasons. For his
can I say something else about Kevin Weeks that it just is kind of, I've thought about a little bit. How many other African-American goalies have played in the, or
not a lot. I know Subban's brother, Malcolm, and
Grant Fuhrer, right?
Yep, Grant Fuhrer, and this is where my knowledge starts. I'd have to
look
it up.
I mean, we might have forgotten a name or two, but very cool from that perspective too. He's one of very few non-white goalies.
Yep. All right. No individual NHL awards or team accomplishments for our boy Kevin Weeks. For his career, his NHL regular season record, 105 wins, 163 losses, 39 ties, 2.87 goals against average, .903 save percentage, and 19 shutouts. Weeks made the playoffs in 2 of his 11 NHL seasons, compiling 3 wins, 3 losses, with a 1.93 goals against average and a .927 save percentage, and 2 shutouts in 9 playoff games played. So, hey, the stats got a lot better in the playoffs. I know he came in relief a couple times, but there was with Carolina, he had a huge 2-game stretch where they needed him, I think, due to injury, or he just went in and he got 2 wins and helped them a lot in the playoffs. But for his career, only made it 2 out of 11 times. New Kevin Weeks picture. There we go. Same pads, different jersey. Same pads, different jersey. When looking at the best season for Kevin Weeks, here's the deal. He only had 1 season where he had a winning percentage greater than 50%. And that was his last season with New Jersey. I'm not going to count that because he didn't play very many games. He only played 16 games in that season and had a record of 7-5. So for his best season, I'm going with this 2003-04 season with Carolina, where Weeks had a record of 23 wins, 30 losses, 11 ties, we'll call it, with a 2.33 goals against average and a .912 save percentage and 6 shutouts in 66 games played. All right, as previously stated, Weeks had a journeyman career, mainly a backup during his NHL career. However, he was a starter in 2000, 2001 with Tampa Bay, and in 2002-03 and 2003-04 with the Carolina Hurricanes. So a couple of years there, or 3 years total as a starter, but most of the time backup. Sometimes went down back and forth between the AHL. Josh, after his retirement, this is where our boy gets interesting. Weeks has had a second life in hockey and is arguably more well known for his role as an analyst and a reporter than as an NHL player. Weeks is currently a hockey analyst for ESPN, where he does studio work as well as game analyst duties for select NHL games. He is also a regular contributor on NHL.com. He also has done color commentary work for the NHL Network and CBC's Hockey Night in Canada. In addition, Weeks does a lot of charity work. He supports youth hockey throughout the U.S. and Canada, and also does work with the Special Forces Charitable Trust. And I didn't put this in here, but if you want breaking hockey news, follow his Twitter or his X account, whatever it is. He actually breaks and reports on a lot of hockey news in the hockey world. So definitely has had a second life in hockey as an analyst, and I think he's probably way more better known as an analyst or a news guy, even to the younger generation, probably more than they probably don't even know he played. They just know he's an analyst guy that breaks news. All right, fun, interesting facts for our boy Kevin Weeks. Why did Kevin Weeks wear number 80? Well, the reason he sometimes wore jersey number 80 during his career was he wanted to wear 00. However, Josh, as we know, 00 and 00 are not allowed anymore in the NHL. Causes chaos with their analytics database or their stats database. I guess they just don't want to figure it out because it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But I get the problems, but whatever. Weeks chose the number that most closely resembled 00. He felt it was 80. So that's why he wears number 80. Weeks' parents both immigrated to Canada from Barbados. Found that interesting. So you mentioned how many black goalies. Well, here's a little fun fact from his ESPN bio as an analyst. In 2009, Weeks became the first black analyst in ice hockey.
Wow.
Two shocking things about that. I can't believe it was 2009.
Yeah, no kidding.
that we finally had, and that he was the first. I just assumed, I guess, that there had been more, but no, that's what they say. He's the first black analyst in ice hockey in 2009. Weeks has appeared on soap operas All My Children and One Life to Live, making cameo appearances. Weeks.
Are those shows still on? Like, are there still soap operas?
I know there's still soap operas. I have no clue if it's Days of Our Lives, if it's the ones we grew up with. I'm sure they're still rolling. It
was like a thing to do when I was in college.
Yeah, we used to watch
for everyone to watch Days.
Because it was on during the afternoon. If you didn't have class, you might as well watch that and have fun. Weeks, along with Willie O'Ree, both appeared in Everybody Hates Chris episode called Everybody Hates Gretzky in 2008. I have not seen that episode, but now I want to go see it.
I'm just gonna say we got to go look that up because now I'm very curious.
Yeah. In 2023, Weeks became an American citizen. Now, I couldn't find if he holds dual citizenship. I would assume so. Probably a little more benefit there. But
can you have triple citizenship? Like if he's a Barbados citizen and a Canadian and
great question. I got to believe somewhere in that string, one of those countries is like, nope, you got to either have dual or single.
In or out, right?
In or out. And Josh, in a tie to Minnesota, Weeks made news on April 18th of this year. So 3 days ago, as of when we're recording, when he tweeted out video from his 16th floor hotel room of a man using a chain and whipping another man on the streets outside of the Xcel Energy Center in St. Paul. Stay classy, St. Paul.
That's great.
I don't know what was going on. There's video of it on X, Twitter. I don't want to show it, but he got like 1.5 million views or something.
Like legit, like trying to hurt the guy?
Yes, dude had a chain just swinging at another dude. I don't know what led up to it. The cops came, but the guy had run off, and I don't know whatever happened with it. But you could find the.
It wasn't you and me in our button bar fight. Well, I kind of blacked that out. Was it?
No, button bar update. I learned some things on it. Still not ready to break it out, but I'm getting a little bit better at it.
Okay.
So, anyways, that's what we got for Kevin Weeks. Now let's look at his rookie card. Bring it up on screen for our YouTube viewers. Here it is. 1997 SP Authentic, number 183, Future Watch. Josh, PSA 10 pop is 2 with a gem rate of 50%. Someone do the math. Tell me how many have been submitted. I think I can get that one.
73.
70-30. Last sale of this card I could find was on December 20th, Josh, of 2015 for $2.30 via PWCC. Thank you, Card Ladder, for having many moons of research data, but 2015 on the PSA 10. However, PSA 9 copy of this card did sell on April 26th of 2021, so we're getting closer via eBay, verified in Terapeak for $14.61 US. So that's
not a bad rookie card.
No,
I've seen a lot worse.
Yep, seen a lot worse. A little color match. I like it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Troy.
All right,
the regular season finale, as they like to say in the business, of the Who's Hot and Struggle Best list. We've concluded week 28 of the NHL, and the regular season is over. It's done, Troy. It's gone. So today we're going to put a bow on it, finish strong for the regular season finale of Who's Hot in the Struggle Bus, where we review the last week or so in the NHL, highlight players that are leading their team and league in scoring, and then the guys that are lined up to take their seats on the Struggle Bus. We're going to start with our final players for Who's Hot. So here we go. Win totally homer, but it's like my last chances here to, talk about dollar bill Kirill.
Yep.
Kirill Kaprizov. Well, and it is justified because in the past 2 weeks, nobody in the NHL, no one, not even Kucherov, not McDavid, not Auston Matthews, not Ovi, not anybody had more points in the NHL than Dollar Bill Kirill. Did it matter?
No.
What a waste. Prime Dollar Bill Kirill, Troy. So his last 7 games played, and unfortunately, it is his last 7 games.
Yeah.
Kirill the Thrill posted 9 goals, 3 assists for 12 points. That's good. His last 21 games, Troy, 13 goals, 33 points. Did it matter?
Nope.
Doesn't matter. In the end, it ended up being a pretty good year for the 26-year-old Russian Dynamo. Finished with 46 goals, 50 assists for 96 points and 75 games played. He did have a little bit of a slower start to the year, but really picked it up in the back half of the season. It's his 3rd consecutive season scoring 40 or more goals. We have a guy on our team who scored 40 goals 3 years in a row. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but we'll go ahead and waste it. It's okay. It's all good.
Kaprizov's 46 goals this season was good for 8th in the NHL. He has the 5th most goals in the league since 2021. Only Draisaitl, McDavid, Auston Matthews, and David Pastrnak have scored more during that span. And in 4 NHL seasons now, Kaprizov has accumulated 160 goals, 170 assists for 330 points, and 278 games played. Sadly, he's already 4th in franchise history for goals behind Gabby, Mikko Koivu, and Zach Parise.
Nice.
And he's 7th already in franchise in points, Troy, after 4 years.
4 years.
So hopefully we can build a better squad around him next season. That would be fantastic.
We won't. We can't.
Kaprizov is a 2020 Young Guns. PSA 10 pop 5,060.
Yeah.
66% Jeremy less over $139 US on April 18th.
Ooh.
Up about 18% in the past 2 weeks.
Don't call it comeback. I'm going to get mine out, start shining it up, polishing it.
Yeah. It seems like this card has gone in like the 120 to 140 range for about a year now.
That's where I think it's just going to settle there forever unless he becomes a stud. Like a superstar stud, like 150 points, get a Stanley Cup in there, and
we wouldn't make the playoffs.
No.
All right, you got the next one.
I do got the next one, Josh. Josh, we have a first timer. I'm pretty sure it's a first timer.
First Timers Club.
First Timers Club. We got a first timer on the Who's Hot list. It's probably the first time we have talked about or said the player's name on our show. Apologies. I almost had to sneeze right on camera, but I stopped it. Here we go, everyone, if you're watching on YouTube. Welcome to Who's Hot, Robert Thomas.
Wait. Rob Thomas, the guy from Matchbox 20?
Matchbox 20's lead singer made it. No, this guy's Robert Thomas. He goes by Robert.
Robert.
All right. Yeah, no kidding. In the past 2 weeks, the 24-year-old forward from Aurora, Ontario, had 3 goals, 8 assists for 11 points in 6 games played with the St. Louis Blues. Now, Josh, I'm not a Blues fan. I don't watch them a lot. It seemed like they had a pretty, I'll call it okay, decent season. I don't know if you want to say that, but they did make the play. They did not make the NHL playoffs. They finished 3rd in the wild card hunt in the Western Conference.
You know what the problem is with us and the Blues is our team never plays good against them. So they might have had like the worst season ever, and we would think that they're like the 83 Oilers or something like that because every time the Wild play the Blues, we get thumped.
And then Bennington will chase down Ryan Hartman or someone and beat him up because he doesn't like him in front of their net. All right. Thomas had a career year in goals, assists, and points this year. He finished 23-24 season with 26 goals, 60 assists for 86 points. In fact, he led the St. Louis Blues in assists and points this season. So, Josh, outside of St. Louis, I wonder how many people actually know about Robert Thomas.
Everybody there's under the radar, right? Yeah. I mean, Jordan Kyrou would be probably the most known, but you know, another guy, like a little hobby take here, try hobby take is look up Jake Neighbors. He had sneaky more goals than you would have expected.
Yeah, I read a whole season recap on The Athletic about player grades, and I think Kyrou might have led the team in goals if I remember, but I think Neighbors was definitely up there like an A or A plus if I remember right. Hopefully I'm not wrong, but yeah, Robert Thomas had an outstanding year this year. In fact, Thomas was just the 4th Blues players since 2000 to post 80-plus points in a season, joining Pavel Demitra, who we talked about just recently, Pierre Turgeon, and Vladimir Tarasenko. So that's
kind of
cool.
bad, isn't it?
It's bad, but it's kind
24 years, 4 guys with 80 points in a season.
Yep, since 2000. So if I'm the Blues, you have to be pretty pumped about Robert Thomas, who is only in the first year, Josh, of an 8-year, $65 million U.S. contract.
Okay.
So a lot of years ahead of him. Cale Makar, who I would trust his opinion on, had this to say about Thomas recently.
Blue line Jesus, right? Cale Makar.
Blue line Jesus. He's got speed, and I feel like his vision and his shot are lethal. As well, I think he's always been one of their key guys on the team. He's definitely a core player for them. And a guy like him, you've got to be aware when he's on the ice for sure. And I will say this, the more you read about this guy, he has all the tools to take the next step. He has speed, wicked shot, stick handling, and playmaking skills, along with being a legit two-way player. He can also find the open player and move the puck in a moment's notice. Obviously, a ton of assists this year, almost reached 30 goals. I think this is a guy you really watch and see what he does. And I'm actually interested to see what he does next year. I'm actually becoming a little bit of a Robert Thomas fan now that
Matchbox 20 or hockey player?
Hockey.
Okay.
I like Matchbox 20's first record. It was pretty good. I like Long Day. All right.
It just got overplayed on the radio.
Oh, yeah. All that stuff. Okay. Robert Thomas is a 2018 Young Guns with a PSA 10 pop of 294, gem rate of 66%. Recently, this card has a couple sales around the $65 US mark in April, with one of those sales being at Gongshow partner Slab Sharks on April 18th, 2024 for $65.83 US. I think that was the highest in April. That's why I specifically called it out.
Okay.
This card does not sell. It does sell somewhat frequently, not a ton, but it will go 3, 4, 5 times in a month. And around the last couple weeks of October, there were sales anywhere from $35 to $50 US. So it's definitely seen a little spike. We're definitely, in that $65 US range. So it's definitely a nice little bump. Sweet.
Oh.
I just stopped another sneeze. I don't know what's going on.
Wait. Is that satisfying to you? I hate that.
No, I tried to get it to come out, but it didn't. So I just have to sit here and look
it's
like
the worst feeling when it doesn't come. It's like you want that satisfaction of getting that out.
Yeah. So I'm sure whoever's watching on YouTube will just clip a screenshot of that because I look like a bonehead trying to.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Your idea? Troy sneeze face.
There it went. I got it, but I hit mute.
Got it out of you.
This whole show is a mess. All right, keep going. Next.
Well, it's kind of fitting, and we didn't plan this. There was no meeting or anything, but we picked all 3 guys for Who's Hot that will not be in the playoffs. So it's a little swang song for our best. Did you like dump your head in pepper or something like that? What's going on? You got mute on, buddy.
Now I'm on mute. Now I'm all, oh my God, this is a mess. No, I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to not sneeze on camera or sneeze into the microphone.
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry, everyone. I apologize.
You think after like 180 shows, we'd be getting better at this?
No, of course not.
No. Okay. So the third guy who's hot, Andrei Kuzmenko, Troy.
Yep.
Yeah. Feels like there's been some definitive twists and turns in the Kuzmenko NHL and hobby experience. Kind of shot onto the scene last season as the too old to be a Calder candidate rookie. Led all first, I guess you call it first year NHL players then in goals with 39. I think he had last year, right? So yeah, a lot of goals. In the past couple weeks, the 27-year-old Calgary forward has produced 5 goals, 5 assists for 10 points in 7 games played. So finishing this year, 22 goals, 24 assists for 46 points. A pretty big drop from his quote unquote rookie year last year.
Is that it's not a Huberdeauian drop, is it?
No. No. Like a McDavid dropping goals.
Ooh,
shots fired. So yeah, last year he had 39 goals, 35 assists for 74 points. So much so he got kind of off to a slow start this year. He's traded by the Nucks to the Flames on January 31st. I remember reading at the time that he was not a Tocchet guy. Like Tocchet wasn't buying into the Kuzmenko program. I don't know if he's a 200-foot player, Troy. as they like to say. Maybe more of like a cherry picker offensive kind of guy. But well, he's had a much better stint at the end of the year with Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
21 points in 43 games. Well, he had 21 points in 43 games played with Vancouver. Then he had 25 points in only 29 games since landing in Calgary.
Okay.
Also scored the most goals for the Flames since that trade was completed.
Wow.
So he did have a big impact. Here's a quote from Kuzmenko about his turnaround this year. He says, "It's a big difference for me because it's my second season in this league. I understand what I need, how I need to work and train, how I need to focus, and how I need to believe in myself." Isn't it amazing he doesn't have a Russian accent?
It's amazing to me that's his second year and it's 27. It's so crazy when we see so many players, they're 18, 19, 20. They'll be like 8 years into their career at age 26 or 27, and then this guy's in his second year, but good for him.
Well, the reason why he's so old is because he was not Calder eligible last year. He played 6 years of pro hockey in the KHL, 315 games. And I remember seeing this too last year, like when he scored all those goals and people were pretty excited. So in the 315 games in the KHL, 85 goals, 115 assists for 200 points. He's never really been a huge goal scorer.
Yeah.
I don't know like where the 39 came from last year, but I'm a little suspect based on looking at that pedigree there.
All right.
It also seems like he goes hot and cold. And from Flames fans, I'm sure they're hoping for and counting on probably more consistent performance like he had in 2022-23. And it sounds like by his quote that he realizes that as well.
Yeah.
So Andrei Kuzmenko is a 2022-23 Young Guns PSA 10 pop 300 on the nose, 31% gem rate, pretty low gem rate. Last sold for $42 on April 16th. It's flat for the past couple weeks, so very cheap. Just think like raw at the time this came out was like $40.
Yep.
All right, Troy. There we go. It's pulled up for the last time in the regular season. The Gong Show Struggle Bus. And oh man, I got so happy when I saw the text from you when I knew who you were going to pick. But I'm not going to steal your thunder. Who did you put on the Struggle Bus for week 28?
I put this guy. This guy's just been a mess. PLD, Pierre-Luc Dubois. He's been a mess this year for the Kings. Now, at least the Kings still made the playoffs. So good news there for you Kings fans. California Dave, our buddy. Kings are in the playoffs. I don't know if PLD helped. Probably hurt him more than he helped them get into the playoffs. But it's been a bad season. So
do you think Kings fans like him?
I don't even know if it seems like the coaches don't like him. I don't know if the fans like him.
Nobody's liked him anywhere he's been, but I got to be really honest for a second. I'm not sorry, any PLD collectors out there. We have very little things to take solace on in the state of our Minnesota Wild team.
Yeah.
But one of the things I can hang our hat on is praise the Lord we didn't trade for PLD.
Yeah. It's been bad, and it seems like when you start seeing the quotes about his effort and just doesn't seem like he cares, that's where you get just mad and frustrated. As if I was a Kings fan seeing that stuff. So let's think
now, Troy, we've seen it in Columbus, we've seen it in Winnipeg, and now in LA. So, but you know what though, this league, because he does have talent. Somebody, if it doesn't work in LA, somebody will give him a shot. There'll be a bunch of articles in the summer about the new PLD.
Yep.
And then 4 months later, it'll be the same old story.
Yeah. I mean, PLD legit probably was a candidate for the struggle bus 75% of the year. Maybe he's in running to be the driver of it. Who knows? But lots of factors are going into this, why he struggled so much. But let's look at his recent play. So, Josh, over the past 2 weeks, PLD has 1 goal, 1 assist for 2 points in 7 games played. That just is not, I don't think what the Kings really want going into the playoffs from him, but it's kind of expected this season. And I'm, like I've said before, I'm pretty certain you could argue PLD has been one of the biggest disappointments in the NHL this season. And it's crazy. This is a guy, Josh, who the Kings GM Rob Blake brought in and signed him to an 8-year, $8.5 million average annual value contract. And I think
they traded Iafallo and Gabe Velarde for him too, right?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't look up what exact the 2 players were, But 8.5 average annual value. That's how much they're paying this guy. And I think actually this season he gets his base salary is like $1 million, but he gets an 8 million bonus, so it's like 9. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah. So on the 2023-24 regular season, PLD had 16 goals, 24 assists for 40 points. That is a lot of money to pay a guy to be a 40-point scorer.
Yeah.
Also, PLD has spent most of his time with the Kings centering the third line and has recently seen time centering the fourth line.
Oh,
you have a guy making 8.5 to 9 million centering a third or fourth line. That is depressing and struggle bushes. That's why
would Torts even let him in the building?
Torts would have kicked him out a long time ago. He just sent him to the AHL, or he probably can't. I don't know if he had to clear waivers. I'm sure someone would grab him.
Yeah.
But so again, third, fourth line centering, lots of money, 40 points over the year. Not good. And it's not like PLD wasn't given a chance with the first two lines during the season. He was definitely given the opportunity and he just didn't produce. And when I was doing research on just how rough this season has been, there's an article in The Athletic and the writer's Harmon Dale. And he wrote this, and this was near like the middle and end of March about PLD. And I think it really holds true and kind of just lets you know about PLD. It's like, so he says, sometimes when a talented player's production falls off dramatically, bad luck is heavily involved. That may have some impact on the Kings as they are shooting just 6.2% with Dubois on the ice at 5-on-5. But to fully buy that he's just been snake bitten, he'd need to be driving play like a monster, which has not been the case. PLD's two-way metrics are pedestrian, and he ranks 6th among Kings forwards in scoring chance contributions, either setting up a chance for a teammate or creating one for himself. That matches the eye test as there are too many games where he's barely noticeable. PLD's lack of power play production has put a hefty dent in his overall point totals, as he has racked up 23 man advantage points last season, but has just 6 with the Kings. Again, remember, this is like end-ish March. His form has picked up since the All-Star break, but he needs to show more. And again, $8.5 million average annual contract.
It's just the same PLD stuff again and again.
Yep, same stuff. PLD struggling all year, but he's struggling recently. So he found the struggle bus, came and got him. PLD is a 2017 Young Guns. PSA 10 pop is 438, gem rate of 47%. Recent sales of this card in March and April of this year ranged from 20 to 40 US dollars. In October of 2023, sales were ranging in the 50 to 80 US dollar range. So definitely down, what you'd expect.
Yep.
This guy better figure it out and turn it around, I hope.
P to the L to the D.
Yep.
Sitting on the struggle bus. Joining him, Kakko. In the past 2 weeks, the 22-year-old Finnish forward for your New York Rangers, Troy, has 0 goals, 0 assists in 6 games to go along with 8 penalty minutes and a -3 which is great. And based on our photo here too, can you also make the argument he's not even good at hugging? Is this like the weirdest hug you've ever seen in your life?
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, Chris Kreider looks like he's in pain or he just doesn't want to hug Kakko, but
yeah. So that puts Double K, his 23-24 regular season point totals at 13 goals, 6 assists for 19 points in 61 games. Not great. Last year, things were kind of trending up for Kakko, where he had 18 goals, 22 assists for 40 points in 82 games. So 2023-24 has been a season of regression for a young player, Troy, that really needed a season where he took another step forward. Yeah. And remember, he's the 2019 second overall pick in the NHL draft. So what's happened? And spent some time looking into this because the whole like player development thing around these young Rangers guys is so interesting. Like I said, with a lot of the other Rangers young talent over the past couple of years, seems to be a question of, well, it's like one of two things, right? Has he been misused or miscast by the Rangers, or did they just make a poor choice in the draft? It seems like he's struggled to adjust to the NHL play style and physicality. He had a lot of success in the Finnish Liga over in Europe there, and just game has not translated to the North American style. He's had a fair share of injuries over his first few years, which everybody, not an excuse, but He's had to deal with a good amount there. His personal development has been great, and then you factor in the Rangers' track record for developing talent, and it's sort of tough to maybe understand there. And one of the things we talked about a lot with how one of the symptoms of how they've developed their talent is shuffling all over the lineup, like burying the kid line at the bottom of the lineup. There's a lot of question marks, I think, that you can have there. He did get some top 6 minutes this spring when it was, I think, pretty widely thought he was going to be trade bait for the trade deadline and maybe a fresh start was necessary. He did end up sticking around, but who knows? Maybe it would have been better if he was traded. Still just 22, Troy, but at some point you got to start making it happen because I think he's had 4 years in the league now. And when you're second overall pick and you have 13 goals and 19 points, it's not good. Kakko is a 2019 Young Guns PSA 10, pop 244, 31% gem rate, another low gem rate.
Yep.
Last sold for $66 US on April 4th. It's technically up a ton, like 127% over the past few months, but there's kind of one of those outlier sales.
Yeah.
So that prior to the sale, like prior to that $66 one, it was like $27, $28, something like that. So final regular season struggle bus has PLD and Kakko. Now these two guys are in the playoffs, so maybe they'll turn it around.
Yeah.
It happened before. Right now, watch they go on a tear and lead the NHL and playoff production or something like that. Okay, going to make a mention for Gongshow partner and sponsor Slab Sharks. Of course, we're thankful to them for supporting our show. The current Slab Sharks weekly eBay auction is live. You want to head to slabsharks.com, check out all the amazing hockey cards up for grabs. Place your bids before heading to the Minnesota Card Show on Saturday. I spent some time looking at the auction, Troy, and found some bangers.
Yep.
Not surprised there, but there's some big cards, like I would say monster cards in this week's Slab Sharks. So here's the 5 that stood out to me. So this first one I would really want.
Yeah.
So 2014-15 Upper Deck Leon Draisaitl Young Guns High Gloss out of 10, BGS 9.5 True Gem Plus. So that True Gem Plus means all 4 subgrades are at least 9.5 with 1 10 subgrade, which I think is centering in this case. So if you could have a True Gem Plus and you get to have one of the subgrades to be a 10, which one would you prefer be the 10? I think I'd go centering.
Yeah, I would want 10 to be the center. Mm-hmm. Correct. That makes sense.
Have you checked, right? Is there a Patreon level where it could be, it could be, I don't know if like there's a character limit on the name, but I'm thinking something like some multi-billionaire hockey card collector that likes this show buys Josh a Leon Draisaitl High Gloss.
I have not checked. I'm guessing they're not out there.
Let's add that to the list. Maybe right above the button bar.
All right, there we go.
Prioritize. No, amazing card, and somebody's going to be very lucky to get it. But that's just not the only monster toy. Found another one. This 2005-06 The Cup, Sidney Crosby. Ever heard of him?
I have. Good player.
Good. Emblems of endorsements, RPA out of 15, BGS 910. Crosby, RPA with dual patches. Very, very nice. 10 auto.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm. Cool card. Next card is Banger's Galore. Yeah. 2019-20, The Cup, Cale Makar. This is an 05 retro. RPA at a 10. I like that patch. It's kind of cool.
Yep. 4-color.
4-color patch. Now, the next one is could be from the upcoming Amazon documentary star Quinn Hughes. A 2019-20 SP Authentic Quinn Hughes Future Watch Auto out of $9.99 inscribed PSA 10. So the first 50 are inscribed. Yeah, so this auction just gets more and more insane.
Yeah,
it's not like a
lot of good cards.
$3 card eBay auction. No. There's like big hockey cards. Now, last week we intentionally went Crosby or Bedard, but so I kind of had to get back in the swing and pick a Bedard for my last one, Troy. 2023-24 SP game used Bedard New Grooves rookie patch auto out of 10. I just like that patch. Kind of cool colors from the feather, right?
When I see New Grooves, I think of Emperor's New Groove. So I think it'd be cool if someone photoshopped like the the head thing he wears, the head dressing. I think that'd look fantastic.
Yeah, there's going to be so many amazing Bedard patch cards.
Yeah.
That's the best part of this whole Chicago thing. Believe me, Troy, just a handful of the great cards in this week's auction. You're going to want to check them out for yourself, slabsharks.com. And if you're a Canadian hockey cards collector that's looking to wheel and deal, move some cards for cash, we'd recommend considering Slab Sharks consignment services. Hey, they're going to be at the Expo this week in a big way. So if you're there, you want to stop by their booth. It's in Hall 5, booth number 1218. They'll be taking submissions for their auctions. They have the new app and portal that'll be live, so you can sign up for that. And then bring your Bedards to submit.
Yeah.
Remember, 98. We got a Bedard we might submit. Remember we talked about that one? Yeah.
I do remember.
Yeah. So I'll bring that. We'll discuss in Toronto. Then they're also partnering with CSC on Friday night of the show for their app release party and trade night from 7 to 11 p.m. at the International Center. That's where the Expo's at. It's free entry, so that's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
What's going on with Slab Sharks at the Expo? So many collectors are using their consignment services, Troy, because they make it very easy to sell your cards on eBay. Plus, your cards get exposed to a really large pool of buyers as more and more collectors are using Slab Sharks as their go-to source to find great hockey cards. So for complete consignment information and to start the process of listing your cards today, check out slabsharks.com. Happy news!
Happy news.
All right, we're getting to crunch time. We're like April 22nd now.
Yeah.
As we tune into the road to infinity, as we track the rise in pop count of the 2023 Connor Bedard base Young Guns PSA 10. Last week, we pushed through the 1,500 milestone, right? And we got about a week to get to 2,000. That was our prediction for the end of the month. Pop reports have been updated. We did tabulations. And as of this recording, Troy, the PSA 10 pop count for the base Connor Bedard Young Guns is now up to 1,687. It's an increase of 165 PSA 10s from last Thursday's show. In total, 3,707 copies have now been graded by PSA, keeping the gem rate very consistently now for like the last 3 or 4 shows at 46%. So, Troy, we need to get 313 over the next week or a little more.
It's going to be close. It is going to be close. I think we can.
Are we the biggest dorks ever? Because it's like, this is fun to me.
This is fun. I love watching this. I like doing the quick math and saying, okay, that's how many has been submitted. All right, let's average it out. Yeah, we're gonna get close. We'll see.
1,000, almost 1,700 PSA 10s already. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Okay, we're gonna move on, Troy. Yesterday, you and I went to St. Paul, Minnesota, the XL Energy Center. Well, is River Center part of XL or next or connected to it?
There's so you have the XL Energy Center, and then there's River Center, then there's Roy Wilkins Auditorium. It's like a trifecta, and they're all connected, and it's kind of nuts. Yeah.
So it was the Minnesota Card Show 2.0. I kind of hope they drop the whole like 0.0 thing. Like 10 years from now, is it going to be 10.0?
No kidding.
It's just like the big annual show. I think I heard, though, that they want to do more like Dallas and eventually get it to be quarterly, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
What's significant, though, is that it's really, for us here in Minnesota, that it gives us kind of most of our shows are a little more community shows. And this is like a legit, real deal, big time card show, 100,000 square feet. Kind of had the who's who of the autograph circuit. So you had Mike Tyson, Ric Flair, a lot of Minnesota legends like Dave Winfield and
Adrian Peterson,
Paul Molitor. Yeah. Now this is 2.0, so that means it happened last year.
Yeah.
We didn't get to go though because
they
obviously didn't check with us, and they scheduled it during the expo.
Yeah.
And as much as we're Minnesota guys, Troy, when it comes to the hockey cards, we choose the expo in Canada 100 times out of 100.
Yep.
So we missed it, but schedules did not line up perfectly. So it was the weekend before the expo. This year we had the chance to go. Now we're going to get your feedback, but overall I was impressed, actually.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a ton of hockey specifically, but actually a little bit more than I expected.
Yep.
As a whole, Minnesota's still sad, maybe pathetic, wherever you want to fall on that spectrum when it comes to representation of hockey at card shows. But at this show, there were actually a few cards I really wanted. Like, it wasn't like a lot of times we go to a show and it's Cole Caulfield Young Guns. I mean, no offense to those, but stuff in Matt Boldy Young Guns and Kaprizov Young Guns, right? There's some like really neat cards that
Yes.
I was pretty excited about. One of them, I was tossing and turning in my sleep last night, Troy, because we just had the whole whoop to do about Allure 16-bit.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, 2021, dollar bill Kirill the Thrill, Kaprizov, 16-bit PSA 10 was there.
Was it 1 of 2? Is that what we figured out?
Yeah,
Was it
1 of 2.
Yeah.
And then there's a really unique 2020 SB Authentic Kaprizov Future Watch Auto Acetate. So there's the Young Guns Acetate, then there's Future Watch Acetates. I think Young Guns Acetates are more desirable. But this one, though, the card owner had Kaprizov autographed in person and then put the inscription like you would have on the first. So you have a Future Watch Acetate with the auto and inscription. And the card wasn't graded, but it was BGS that the autograph was authenticated. So you didn't have to worry about that. Very tempting, but the problem was you and I were going to the expo, and so we're not millionaires,
no,
right? And we have to budget, and we intently went to scope it out for the show, be good ambassadors of the hobby here, intending not to spend money. And so, I had to kind of bite my fist a little bit, and because I really, really want that 16-bit, but and then I was like, I'm like, do you have Instagram? He's like, no. Are you on any social media? No. I used to have business cards, but I didn't bring any. So I have no way of contacting him either. If I don't find anything at the expo, which how am I not going to find anything at the expo? But
it wasn't the breaker guy. It wasn't. Oh,
no,
I know.
No.
Yeah. I was like, he has stuff. I know he does. And he was really cool. Redline Breaks was his name. The one that we talked to as a breaker. He had a lot of good
very
stuff.
Nice, very sweet guy.
Yeah, very nice doctor. But the guy Josh is talking about just didn't have any social, didn't have a business cards, didn't have anything.
Yeah, so I don't know. That one may have slipped through the fingers, but overall, very good experience. Very pleased to have something like this in the state of Minnesota. Hopefully, they'll continue to build off it and make it better and better. And as you can see in our photo here, if you're watching on YouTube, it's pretty busy, pretty big space. What were your thoughts?
I thought it was way better than I expected. There was more hockey than I expected. Not a ton of hockey, like we said, but it's better than the usual 1 or 2 tables we see. I'm guessing there was 10 or 12 that had some mix of hockey, some had all hockey. Even though you see this picture, it's 100,000 square feet. This picture makes it look like pretty crowded. It was actually okay to move around, and that's just I hate when it just becomes you can't move. I hate that, and I'll just leave. But it was actually really well set up. I thought good space for it. Again, I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to try to get bigger, and then where do you go next? I don't know, convention center maybe or something. But yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Met a lot of cool people, ran into some Discord members, some listeners.
Yeah, that's
talked to them. We complained about the Wild. It was fantastic.
Yeah, you're not a crowds guy. If you want to meet Troy, especially at the expo on Sunday or Saturday, if you're there.
Sunday I'll be gone probably, because who knows?
Yeah, we'll both be gone Sunday, but Saturday, the move to meet Troy is to go to the ballroom where all the tables are, because Troy just taps out. And he's like, I'm going to be in the ballroom. Yeah, good job. It's like I said, fun to see Minnesota get a big boy art show. Okay, next story, Troy.
I love that graphic. I love the graphic.
Yeah, you like that? Spent way too much time. So the whole card cleaning thing is coming to a head, it seems like, here in the hobby. The PSA took some shots at Kurt's Card Care. Kurt's Card Care went on Jeremy Lee's show, been doing a lot of videos, been very open and vocal about sort of his mentality, philosophy, and methodology towards prepping and cleaning cards for grading. I think it all started even a week or so before, and I didn't look at the details, but there's something about a Victor Wembanyama card that was known to be cleaned before grading or something like that. And that's really, I think, what kind of juiced up the discourse on the whole kind of card cleaning and now card soaking. It's kind of funny how there was the whole mega bid thing where that came into vernacular. I don't think I'd ever heard of card soaking until this week. Had you?
I have not. We're a family show. I would make a funny joke right now, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. For the Gongshow After Dark, that'll never happen. You can save it. Well, so it looks like the issue might be coming to a head, though, Troy. And there's a site, there's a Twitter, I think a website, but Twitter account, Tiffany Cards, which is, it's like a social account that tracks like a lot of fake or altered cards. And they posted this 1953 Topps Jackie Robinson that ended up getting a PSA 2.5 grade that Kurt from Kurt's Card Care had soaked, clean, and dried in one of his videos. And so he went through the process and submitted it online, or posted the video online, then subbed the card to PSA, ended up getting a 2.5 grade. Now, if you're watching on the photo, or YouTube, there's a before and after. The red boxes kind of show the areas that were quote unquote like cleaned or improved. And then there's a bunch of yellow circles that I think were used to photo match the raw card to the PSA slab. And like you said, like Kurt's been, I guess to his credit, right? He's not trying to hide it. He kind of, and as part of his marketing, he Wednesday nights, I think he does live, and this card he had like soaked, which is just what you think. He's got whatever his solution is, puts it in like a Tupperware and submerges it for like 20 minutes, and then basically puts it like it's branded, but it looks like a cigar humidor. But instead of keeping humidity in, it must take humidity out, right? Because that's how he dries. Like some like lamp over this glass thing, and thoroughly dried the card, submits it to PSA, gets a 2.5 grade. This whole thing gets on PSA's radar, and what do, Troy? They deactivate.
They do that.
They lower the boom on it. So so they're saying that the card was altered or not qualified for grading. Definitely shots fired. And as part of PSA's terms and conditions, they say cards cannot be altered before submission. PSA actually chimed in and commented to collect on this matter. Here's what they said.
CLLCT for those that don't know the joke, but
this is kind of a funny quote. This is from the president of PSA or Collectors.
Oh, no. I just read the first sentence.
We are fine blowing on it or using a dab or water or using microfiber to clean it, said Ryan Hogue or Hogue, president of Collectors Parent Company PSA. But when you are doing much more, we're not on board. Also reached out to Kurt Cologne, who's the founder of Kurt's Card Care. Got a comment from him as well. Now, Kirk used a little media training here. I like it. I mean, he just speaks his mind, but it's kind of funny, like because as we know, like Kurt is like a true media site.
Yeah.
So here's what Kurt said. I have nothing to hide. My videos are uncut. I'm showing people what I've been doing to my cards for 20 years, and the marketplace has clearly spoken. I have more than 20,000 customers using my product. It's the 5 or 6 trolls that scream the loudest that give me issues. A lot to unpack there, Troy.
Yep.
So it sort of brought up this question to me. Is card cleaning wrong? Is it okay? What's acceptable versus unacceptable when attempting to prep or make a card most presentable for grading? I want to hear your thoughts first.
I'm going to say it's not black and white. I come from, it's funny, there's a lot of other things in life and collectibles that cleaning and all this stuff is encouraged. We'll say comic books, pressing comic books and stuff like that is very well accepted and known as something you do. Here's where I struggle is I don't know where you draw the line. Like PSA's definition of what that doesn't do anything for me. And I don't even know how you would define what you're going to consider altered versus, because like the dabs, they said they're fine with wiping it down. You're fine with. I just don't know what's the line. Is you cover the card 100% in the solution. Now it's altered. Is that it? If I take a razor blade and if I have like I don't know what you want to call it, a little thread hanging off or something, on the edge, and I cut it. Is that it? Did I go too far? I don't have a good answer. He's made a business of it and he's got a market for it. I'll tell you that much. I'm fine. I think I go into the camp of I'm okay if like wiping down and stuff. When you start cutting the card, that's where I like trimming and stuff is where I probably draw the line, but I'm really confused on what I should think with the solution, dumping it in a solution. And then there's been stuff where they said these cards have kind of reverted back over time. Like if the color was kind of fixed after a couple of years or something, that after the process, they've actually faded back and reverted. So I don't know. I don't know.
That's where I could empathize with PSA is that
yeah.
If you grade it, how do you know that like 3 years from now it's not going to disintegrate or something like that because of the chemicals that are used? Because he keeps his recipe private, or proprietary, which makes sense, right? You're not going to. I'm assuming that he's not like in a world class like chemical lab making this. That is probably.
I think he would. Man, if he said he's like a restoration service, because junky cars. I restore and sell them as collectibles.
Well, that's a point I was going to make. Okay, so let's say you have a classic Ferrari and you want to bring it to auction, and there's a scratch in the paint, and you buff it out so you can't even see it.
Yeah.
Would anyone care?
Yeah, no, I don't think so, because it's widely accepted in that community that's what happens, right?
Which is a great point, right? And that's something that I think that has to enter this conversation.
Yeah.
Is for one reason or another, it's not widely accepted.
Yes.
In the hobby, and maybe it just is that way, and it doesn't just because it's accepted in cars or comic books or book restoration or something like that doesn't mean that it necessarily has to be accepted in the hobby either. But I totally agree with you. It's like, where do you draw the line? And that's what makes the PSA quote so interesting to me, almost like they didn't run it by lawyers, which I'm sure they didn't.
Yeah.
Because when you say that we're fine with dabs of water or microfiber, but there's no way to draw when you make throw that out there. There's no way to draw a definitive line, right? It kind of makes me like this is such a bad way to explain it, but I can't think of a better way. Have you ever heard like the old sort of like trick where someone says, would you jump out of a plane for $10,000? And somebody says, yeah, I'd jump out of a plane for $10,000. Then they say, well, if you jump out of a plane for $10,000, you'd surely jump out of a plane for 9,700 then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd do it. Well, if you jump out of a plane for 9,700, then you'd surely do it for 9,500. Right.
Yep.
And the point is that there's no such thing as like these black and white marginal lines of like where like it becomes like a binary thing. So to say for PSA to say that you can use a microfiber to clean cards, but not, and you can use water, you can dab with water, but you can't use Kurt's card care.
Can I dab the whole thing with water then? Is that...
Yeah, it's like, well, if I can put is that a drop? If I can put a drop, can I put 2 drops? Can I put a drop and a half?
Yeah.
Can
And here's the great thing, that there's such a dichotomy of opinions. Like we're going to get, I can tell you right now, I already know what's going to happen. We're going to get comments on this when this show goes live. We're going to get tons of comments on this, and they're going to people screaming saying it's the worst thing ever. And there's going to be people in there going, no, it's great. That's what he does. And he's helping the cards look better. And we're going to get messages about it. Like this is such a divisive topic. I don't think there is a right answer yet. And the hobby hasn't figured out or settled where it wants to be on it.
I'm trying to think, like, I don't know if I want to say this, but maybe because I don't want it to come off the wrong way, but I give him credit for people that like are very open and honest. Because I'm I'm a very open and honest person. I always personally err to because I believe in karma. It's like an integrity, right? I talk to my kids all the time about integrity is doing the right thing when nobody knows that you do or don't, or if nobody's looking, right? And so I really appreciate that if somebody's going to use some of these methods to clean their cards, that they disclose that they do. But it's probably not the smartest thing.
Yeah.
Going
especially
forward.
if PSA is going to start deactivating them. Like, I'm curious how how this gets handled by them going forward. I mean, I don't know if they're going to try to invest in technology that can show them all. I don't know. I have no clue. They're going to try to find where Kurt's talked about it and what card, and then just deactivate it like they did with this Jackie Robinson card. It will be interesting. It's such a hot topic, and I think there still needs more discussion around it.
Okay,
Well, did you watch the live show where he was on Jeremy's?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it.
And how was the comments on that? Besides, like people that were in there to troll.
I think Jeremy had it moderated, and
Yeah.
so it was kind of making sure that, and Jeremy does a good job of not putting up with kind of
Yeah.
trolling kind of stuff.
I just say I'm guessing it was both ends, man. It was just like back and forth. But
I actually think this conversation has changed my mind a little bit, and here's how it has. On one hand, if I buy a card and it's in a slab or in a condition, do I necessarily care how it got? As long as it's authentic. Do I really care if it got to how it got there? No, I just don't personally. People might have a different opinion. That's cool. Doesn't make my opinion right or wrong. Where I think I do care on this matter is, let's say I want to buy a $10,000 Wayne Gretzky or $15,000 Wayne Gretzky rookie, like make like the biggest card purchase of my life. It's not disclosed that this card was like dunked for a half hour in Kurt's proprietary solution. And what if 6 years from now, that card I spent 15 grand on is like horribly mangled because of the long-term effect of whatever chemicals it was in?
Yeah, it's like
I would be pretty bitter about
long-term effect. Like I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't think Kurt's commissioned like a 10-year study on the long-term effect on the cards, right? And so I guess for that reason, I would either not prefer my cards were not dunked or soaked or whatever it is, or, and why would PSA ever do this? But if card cleaning were to become actual a really big thing, have it some sort of like mandatory disclosure. But I think though the issue in that is, would PSA ever know if people weren't posting videos of them cleaning their cards online? It doesn't seem like they would.
Great question.
Do you ever see yourself doing anything like this? Like I honestly, it's probably
that's the thing. I can say, like, I can sit there and draw, or I can see both sides and everything, but I would never do it myself. Like I just wouldn't. That's just something I'm not going to do. And hey, I'm not the biggest grader anyway, so me sending a card in for grading is a rare thing. So me taking that extra step and going through this whole cleaning process, no, it's not going to happen with me.
I think I wouldn't, not because I'm necessarily going to say today it's wrong. It's because I don't know.
Yeah.
And I want to let other people figure it out.
Well, yeah, and I don't want, if somehow, some way, and this is all anecdotal evidence that I've heard, that people have said, oh, that stuff comes back. I have no clue. I don't know if it does, but if it does, if that's a issue, I don't want that on me. I don't want to do that and then sell this card and then come back to me. That's just not what I want. So I stay away from it.
And you said, I think we're going to get a lot of comments regardless, but I'll just say otherwise too, that let us know what you guys think, because that's for us. And I think for everyone else too, like that's one of the best parts of our show is that we get to hear a lot of opinions, and I don't really know what to think on this. And so I'm really curious to see what everyone's opinion on the matter is. Okay. We're going to move on, Troy. The Golden 100 Part 1 is live. It was last year the first Golden 100.
I think that was the first time I remember hearing about it, but I am not going to say that with 100% positivity.
Now, we got to, full disclosure, we're tried and true PWCC guys, but we can't ignore something like this. I mean, this is a huge auction, and there's a couple really cool cards. There's of the 100 items in Part 1 of the Golden 100, which is kind of love marketing sometimes. It's like, well, how do we have like this really kind of great idea called Golden 100, but we want more than 100 stuff? We'll just do Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah.
Right. So Part 1 of the Golden 100, 4 hockey cards.
Yeah.
2 really stood out to me that I want to cover. The other 2, we've just, not that they're not great, we just have seen it before. So the first one, Troy, is a 1985 OPC Marley Mew BGS 10. Pristine BGS 10. Don't see that every day on eBay, that's for sure. Not a ton of all-time sales on this card, maybe a dozen or so, going back a dozen years, right? And to me, what makes this card super interesting, like aside from the rarity of the grade, is remember, BGS is known and is willing to grade sheet cut cards.
Yes.
PSA will not. And this is another, like, well, it's not as controversial as card cleaning, but it's not one of those where there's not really a right answer. Sheet cut cards aren't bad. they were all produced at the exact same time. It's just that a certain amount of the sheets were not cut and packed out when the
Yeah.
product was initially released. That even being said, so if this card was sheet cut, it's kind of rare it would be a BGS 10 because not that you wouldn't expect like perfect corners and edges, but a lot of these sheets were rolled up and it scratched the surface. So very, very often do they have low surface grades on them.
And
So that makes it kind of unique in of itself. But at the end of the day, there's opinions on sheet cut cards versus not.
And I want to ask a dumb question. At the end of the day, though, isn't every card a sheet cut card?
No, okay.
This would be sheet cut after the fact, right? Or I don't know how cards are produced. I don't.
Well, they're printed on big sheets and then they're cut at the factory. You're right. And
so this is like a non-factory cut card. Yeah. Okay,
so this card could have been cut the day that it was produced. It could have been cut 23 years later.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Right up.
Yeah, I get the fact you can buy sheets at that Trauma Expo. There'll be people selling uncut sheets of cards and stuff. So
and kind of that. I'm sure that there's ways to like if you really like wanted to go to some fancy lab and figure out when it was cut, but most of the time, like the way to have confidence in a BGS graded OPG card is from like the late 70s or early 80s is to you want to see that fraying.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you see like perfect edges, perfect corners, I think it's not direct proof. It's not 100% scientific, but most people say might be sheet cut.
Yeah.
At the time. Right. So again, it's not a right or wrong answer. It's a what do you prefer? I'm more of I like the rough cut. I like more like the romance of the card being in a pack somewhere and somebody's shoebox and then ultimately ended up being graded. But that's kind of just I don't know. Some people are like, who cares? So I looked at the last the sales of this because I wanted to see if that sheet cut versus packed out card made a difference in sales even at BGS 10. So there's been 13 BGS 10 copies of this card, or there are 13. Like it's a pop 13. There's 0 black labels. Last sale, Troy, was 28,800 US in November of 2022. So I tried to find the PSA 10 sale nearest to that sale, and I found one same month, I believe. So the PSA 10, which is a lower grade, right? So for 42,000.
Wow.
Right. So that is a big difference. Now PSA 10 right now, coincidentally, is worth about 29 grand. Where this was back in November of 2022. So it'll be interesting to see where this sells. But if you were if you had the cash and you wanted to get a Lemieux rookie, would you just go, what would your mindset be? Would you just be like, well, I'm just going to get a PSA 10 because then I know I have a greater degree of confidence it was packed out and not sheet cut at a later date? Or does the whole sheet cut versus rough cut thing or packed out thing not bother you?
It doesn't bother me at the end of the day. If I'm buying this card, I'll tell you right now, I'm never letting go of it. They are going to have to pry it from my dead cold hands. So at the end of the day, I don't care if it's the PSA 10 or a BGS 10 or if it's sheet cut versus packed out.
Okay, the second card I wanted to point out is we're starting to see some bigger McDavid cards come out. We had one in the PWCC premiere. Now here is a 2015 UD Black Pro Penmanship Rookie Auto 101. PSA Authentic. Auto looks decent, maybe a little bit light in some areas, but again, man, you don't see a lot of McDavid Rookie 101s.
Yeah.
So I'll be really curious to see. What do you think? Like half of a Bedard 101 or something like that?
Yeah, no kidding. I just wish they would have. I do wish they would have picked a better picture.
Yeah,
because the stick's going right where the autograph goes.
And it is kind of weird.
Off face. Like I'm getting more annoyed by these faces where they just kind of do them dirty. It seems like it's more and more that I notice this.
Do you have an opinion on UD Black? Like, do you like because it's one of these like sets.
I like them. I like how they look.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it used to be, so right. This was when it was his own set. Now it's an insert in, I can't remember what set they throw it in, or if it's a couple sets, they throw it in like Exquisite.
Yes, I can't remember either.
Is it the cup?
But
Is that where they put it? I can't. Don't quote me. I have to look it up.
the other two of the four cards, just so for posterity's sake, is a 1979 OPG Gretzky PSA 9, which is not a ho-hum card, but we see those come up every couple months. And then a 2016-17 the Cup Auston Matthews RPA. So again, all amazing cards, but ones we see more frequently. I'll be really curious to see where the Lemieux and where the McDavid Auto 101 end up. Okay, we're going to move on. I was thinking a lot, Troy, about the end of the regular season where we've had like just top to bottom, like legendary performances from the NHL elite this year.
Yep.
I don't think we can expect this every year. It would almost be hard to top, right? Next year we could have Ovi break the goals record. Probably not, but could. So that would be a huge thing.
Yeah.
But there really wasn't even a dud when you look at like the top players in the sport and hobby. Even our guy Ovi turned around in a big way.
Yep.
So what I wanted to do was roll through the top 5 hobby elite guys, kind of quickly recap what they did to make their season so special this year, and then look and see if it moved the hobby needle at all. And we're still kind of in this, like, I think a lot of us coming out of the pandemic, coming out of 2022 when everything was record setting, where we're all a little uneasy as to like where the overall hobby market is. And I hear you have like all well-known peak guys who played ridiculous this year, and you would think that you'd hope that it would kind of move their hobby market. We'll start with McDavid, Troy. So his 2023-24 season highlights. He finished with 32 goals, 100 assists for 132 points. Just the 5th player in NHL history to record 100 assists in a season. 5 players have done it in history, and 2 did it this year.
Yep.
That's crazy. So he joins Gretzky, Lemieux, Bobby Orr, and Kucherov, who we'll talk about later, on that list, which is pretty impressive. Orr did it one time. Lemieux did it once. Gretzky just did it 11
70 billion times.
I think it was 11 times in a row, too, which is
wow,
all sorts of mind-blowing. McDavid also led his team to a second-place finish in the Pacific Division of the Western Conference. So, hopefully he'll make some playoff noise. Now, his 32 goals, Troy, though, lowest goals total since 2016-17 when he had 30. I'm starting to hear this narrative, and I don't know if this is people like drawing convenient logic or if this is a real thing. Maybe you've heard of like the whole like Yzerman sacrificing his offensive game to Scotty Bowman convinced Steve Yzerman to not be such a puck hog, and Detroit started winning sort of deal. Is there that thing going on with McDavid, or did he just not score a lot of goals?
I have no clue. I haven't seen anything like that, but maybe it's a little bit of it. But I would never want to put the rails or the handcuffs on him personally.
Yeah.
I would just be like, go do your thing.
So the question everyone's asking, has his season moved the hobby needle? So we'll look at this a couple ways for each of these guys. First, we'll look at the Young Guns. This is kind of a good barometer. He's a 2015 Young Guns, PSA 10 pop, 2,847, 47% gem rate. That's sold for $2,982 in April 20th. So if you compare this to like the start of the season, it's up 20% over the last 6 months. So there you go. Okay, now the next like metric that I'm a little worried, Troy. You're a data guy. The like 4 hours it took me to do this is either going to go off the rails really quick, or you're going to tell me it's really smart. So we'll no time like the present to find out. So what I did is I wanted to compare sales from the last 6 months. Actually, almost right now coincides with the start of the season. So if you look at the block of sales over the last 6 months, and then compare that to the prior year's 6 months, so like almost like a year, and look at how many sales over $1,000 were there, and then what was the total amount spent on the top 5 sales, as just a one way to kind of see what more the higher end hobby market has looked like, not just sort of the base Young Guns. So this year, since the start of the season, there's been 928 McDavid sales of more than $1,000. Last year, there were 1,136 during last season. So that's down 18% year over year. if you look at total spent on the top 5 sales over the same time period, this past 6 months, so during this season, the top 5 McDavid sales totaled $393,061 US. Where during last season, the top 5 sales totaled $313,500 US. So 25% more was spent on sales this year over last. Not perfect because so much goes into that, like what cards came available.
Again, it's directional though. I mean, it's not gonna pass any scientific standard. But
one of the things I was trying to like prove or disprove or just see for myself is because I kind of feel like most people think that the market is way down.
Yeah.
Right, and it might be, but I look at these 3 data points, and it's like, well, he's had a good year, and his hobby market's doing pretty good, I think, as a result. So, but we'll go on to the next slide. Auston Matthews. So his 2023-24 highlights: 69 goals. He's got the coolest photos. Nobody gets better photos than him, man. Also added 38 apples for 107 points. The most goals in a season for Matthews in his 8-year NHL career. 69 goals ties Matthews with Mario Lemieux and Mike Bossy for 15th most goals ever in an NHL season. It's the most goals in one season in the NHL in 32 years, Troy. Both Alexander Mogilny and Teemu Selanne had 76 in 1992-93. Most goals ever in an NHL season was only 92. Gretzky had that in 81-82. Didn't help the Leafs in Game 1, though, did it?
Oh, shots fired.
Shots what? Too soon? Now, hey, Leafs fans, don't get mad at us. At least your team can make the playoffs. Unlike our dumpster fire of a situation here in Minnesota. So, can't get mad. Okay, so Troy, here's a question for you. AM34 played 8 years in the NHL now. How many goals does he average per season? What do you think?
51.
46.
I was going to say 49 was my first thing, and then I changed it 51.
It's pretty good. For the entirety of your career,
Yeah.
Averaging 46 goals a year. For players with at least 200 career goals, Matthews is 5th all-time in goals per game average with a .665 average. Ahead of him so there's 4 guys ahead of him, right? 2 guys were born in the 1800s, like, literally. Cy Denny and Cecil Babe Dye.
We know about Babe Dye.
But then Mario Lemieux he's second. Mario Lemieux is second with .754 goals per game. And then Troy's guy, Mike Bossy, .762.
Yep.
So a 69 goal season moved the hobby needle for Auston Matthews. We'll see. Auston Matthews 2016 Young Guns PSA 10 pop 3,511. 69% Jeremy Lesso for 1,158 US on April 20th. Up 24% since the start of the season, Troy. You got the card?
I do have the card. There it is.
There we go. That's not bad. 24% since the start of the year. So again, looking at his bigger sales since the start of the 2023-24 season in the last 6 months, 281 sales for more than 1,000 or $1,000 or more. You look at the prior 6 months, year over year, prior 6 months was 241, 17% more 17% more sales of more than $1,000 Total spent on top 5 sales this past 6 months, 55,508. Year over year, 71,400, so 22% less in aggregate spent on the top 5 sales this season versus last.
So he's showing the trend we've heard, right, more sales but less dollars. It's kind of
and again the total amount spent is like there can be one like crazy card that goes up for auction that sells for $100,000 and it skews the whole bit.
Well, plus, you'd have to seasonality. Like, how does seasonality play into this with the first half or second half?
Troy, we're not that smart. Okay, 3 more guys. Nikita Kucherov. One might think after the season he's had, where he joined Connor McDavid in the very exclusive, we've talked about 100 Apples Club, that his hobby market, if his hobby market were to ever reach to the level of respectability, this would be it.
Yep.
On the season, Kuch had 44 goals, 100 assists for 144 points, 81 games played. So he took one game and the All-Star Skills Challenge off this year.
I think he took the whole All-Star weekend off or whatever it was.
The 44 goals and 144 points are both career highs. His 144 points also led the NHL in 2023-24. Over the past 6 seasons now, Kucherov, Troy, has averaged 107 points per year.
Wow.
Still just 30 years old, so he should have a number of good years left.
Mm-hmm.
The dude was amazing this season. Could win the Hart. I don't think anyone would be shocked if he did. But like Rodney Dangerfield, Troy, he gets no respect.
He doesn't. And I know where this is going, and it's just going to make me sad.
Well, let's see if the hobby woke up, started appreciating Kucherov. Nikita Kucherov, 2013 Young Gun, PSA 10, pop 456, 58% gem rate. Sold for $594 US in April 20th, up 41% in the past 6 months.
Okay. All right. Starting to wake up.
Happens. He's coming.
He's coming.
Looking over at the year-over-year data, comparing last 6 months to the prior year. In the last 6 months, Nikita Kucherov sales of more than $1,000 is 10. Now, year-over-year was 2.
And it's probably because people had these cards and now they're like, oh, now he's doing something. I'm going to sell these things as fast as possible. And
if you look at the total spent on the top 5 sales in the last 6 months, $13,274 US. Year over year, $5,502 US. So again, about 149% more spent on the top 5 sales.
It's just still depressing.
Okay, next guy, Troy, is your boyfriend, Sidney Crosby.
There we go.
2023-24, kind of felt like an ageless Tom Brady type season for Sid the Kid. Very appropriate, like he's playing like a kid. 36-year-old Crosby had 42 goals, 52 assists for 94 points. That's pretty good. In fact, Roy, for a player that's 36 years or older, it's historic. Here's the best point totals for players 36 or older in NHL history. Gordie Howe had 103 points at age 40 in 1968-69. He was 40 in 1968.
Wow.
That's more impressive than the 103 points. Joe Sakic, Troy, had 100 points at age 37 in 2006-07. Now, Crosby, is it Jean or Jean?
Jean
Rattel and Teemu Selanne. They each have 94 points in their age 36 NHL season. Pretty good company. For 2023-24, Crosby led the Penguins in goals, assists, and points. Plus, this season saw Crosby hit a number of huge career milestones. Got up to 1,000 assists. Moved past Phil Esposito for 10th on the all-time scoring list. Inched closer to 600 career goals, sitting at 592, so 8 goals away. And then finally, Troy likes him. He won Troy over as a fan. It's kind of too bad that, given how good of a year he had, that he couldn't find a way into the playoffs.
Yeah, couldn't get in the playoffs.
So this magical season, Troy, at 36 years old for Sidney Crosby, has it moved his hobby market? Let's find out. Sidney Crosby is a 2005 Young Guns, PSA 10, pop 1,106, 52% gem rate, last sold for $2,623 US on April 18th. Down about 5% in the past 6 months.
Yeah.
Looking at the year-over-year data, comparing last 6 months to the prior year, sales of more than $1,000 US. The past 6 months, there's been 350 cards that have sold for more than $1,000 US. Prior year, 304. So 15% increase this year. But if you look at the total spent on the top 5 sales in the past 6 months this year, $155,259 US. The prior year period, Troy, $247,331 US.
Yeah. I mean,
so 36% less.
Yeah, a lot of Crosby's greatness. I mean, what else can he do? There's just, I don't know.
Yeah, just be great for longer at this point, right?
Just be great for longer.
Last guy we're going to look at is Ovi. So the season was looking like a dumpster fire for Ovi fans and collectors all the way up to the first of the year and beyond.
Yeah.
Frankly. So, and I don't know why I was like so stuck on like 7 goals at the first of the year. Probably because it was just a clean date. But I think he had like 8 goals as of January 24th. So he almost went a whole month with just one more goal after that. So on the first of the year, Troy, though, when he had 7 goals, it was in 35 games played. That was an 82 game pace of 16 goals for a season. Not good. Then again, after the January 24th game, Ovi had 8 goals in 44 games. Since then, though, he scored 23 goals in his last 36 games played, giving him a respectable, very respectable 31 goals on the season. He had 34 assists, so he had ended the year with 65 points in 79 games played. Plus, his second half uptick helped lead his team to the playoffs. I don't think many people are picking the Caps to be a playoff team this year.
No, I don't think so.
I was not. Gotta admit that. So now Ovi sits at 853 career goals. The record, of course, is 894. He's 41 goals away from tying and 42 from history. Basically, one good OV season away, Troy.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, at 38, does he have another 40 goal plus season in him? Who knows, right? But what I think has changed the most in the past couple of months are the thoughts that a lot of people have that he's not going to get the record at this point.
Yeah.
That he was basically done, and you were one of those guys that chimed in. And so has how he finished from where he was 2 months ago to where he is now? Has that changed your mind? Do you think he's going to get 42 more goals?
If he wants to play 2 or 3 more years, yes, he will get the record. However, I think he's kind of, I don't know. It seems like he's declining, and we'll see. I mean, he made a comeback this year that I didn't expect. So we'll see. I'll say this: if he goes 3 years, he'll get the record, no question.
In a weird way, do you think making the playoffs could hurt?
It gives him more toll on your body. It could, for sure.
Yeah.
Hockey playoffs are grueling. It's the most grueling playoffs there can be, especially
when they last forever. And so and NBA does too. It's crazy.
Yep.
Okay, so how has his hobby market fared in a very up and down season for Ovi? We'll find out here in a second. Alexander Ovechkin, 2005 Young Guns, PSA 10 pop 1,209, 37% gem rate. That sold for $3,803 in April 11th, down about 4% in the past 6 months. So it's both him and Crosby are about pretty close to, 4%, 5%. Looking at year-over-year data over the last 6 months, 454 of his cards sold for $1,000 or US more dollars. Prior year period, 572. So that's a 21% decrease. You look at the top 5 sales, like the total spent on the top 5 sales the past 6 months, 141,823 US dollars. The prior year period, 294,000 even. So about 52% less spent on the top 5 sales this season versus last. So his metrics are probably down the most. Part of me though thinks with Ovi that when that last year the goals record became a very real thing, and people did their big run on Ovi last year.
Yep.
But that's very anecdotal and just an opinion. And then again, he had a pretty up and down performance this season. So that's like the pretty crazy season for those the top 5 guys, really active players in the hobby. Now, one thing, Troy, that I think you have to mention when comparing hobby market this year to last is the whole Bedard effect too, right? And the theory that so much money is being spent on Bedard that there's less money to go around everywhere else. And so could that have affected maybe the sales of like a Connor McDavid or an Alexander Ovechkin, something like that? Do you agree that, or do you think that there's enough money being spent on Bedard that it would have a material impact on other players?
Oh, I think it's got to. I mean, we've seen just too much crazy sales and money floating around on Bedard. That's probably had some effect. I don't know how much, but it's probably definitely affected it a little bit.
And then I would say too that the high-end market is not like setting the world on fire, right? It's definitely, we're not seeing tons of huge like 6-figure sales, 50, 60, 70, $80,000 sales. That pace seems to have slowed a little bit. I don't know what the reason is. Or again, I think a big part of that is availability, what cards come up for sale. And in hockey, we know that cards tend to get buried maybe more than in other sports, but maybe some of the more guys that participate at that level of the hobby will chime in and give us their thoughts. But do you have any other like takeaways from this exercise?
No, it was interesting to see. It's kind of, I don't know if it's what I thought it would be. It's funny, like we do all these auction posts and everything, and like I feel like the amount of these guys' cards we've been seeing is increased exponentially in the last month or two. It was interesting to see some of the data say that's true or not.
Yeah, I think it's like what we're not seeing though, are like the PMG golds that sell for 60 grand or something like that.
Yeah.
Like those are the sales that, we're seeing like more rarer cards that sell for about the same, or like these crazy RPAs like with McDavid we've been seeing. Okay, we're going to switch out over to new product releases real quick. Not a ton going on this week. Metal Universe Champions comes out on Wednesday. I haven't even looked at the checklist, to be honest.
I haven't either.
It just doesn't excite me much.
That's one set I'm not that excited about.
There's usually like Wayne Gretzky and like a plain jersey, something like that, and a couple rookie guys, but just go to Beckett, I guess, and check it out if you want. But I did want to take the opportunity of new product releases, though, to look at SP Game Used, which has been out about 2.5 weeks now, and see how strong the secondary market sales have been. So SP Game Used came out on April 3rd. It's the 2023-24 edition. Doesn't it seem like it came out more than 2 weeks ago?
It feels like 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks, but I guess not.
Yeah. So we're going to look at the top 5 selling cards. What are the odds, Troy, if you haven't looked ahead, that even one of the 5 are not Connor Bedard?
I would guess none. I'm going to say they're all Bedard.
Yeah.
Am I right?
It's like a 0%
chance. I'm biased though because I loaded the pictures, and even though I do it quick, I probably saw that they were all Bedard.
But if you were like setting Vegas odds for a question like that, it'd be like you'd have to bet like $1 to win like 4 cents.
Well, yeah, we've talked. I mean, yeah, this doesn't relate to games, but we talked about Black Diamond, where you can get the case hit, and if it's not Bedard, you ain't making your money back. So.
Nope. Okay, so we're gonna roll through the top 5 sales real quick. Number 5, Troy, is a deep cuts Bedard auto in his Team Canada jersey.
Oops, thank you.
Sold for $2,720 in April 7th.
Team Canada sticker auto.
Yeah. I do like these deep cards, though. I'm a kind of a fan of die cuts inside the card body. And it's got a die cut with like a background, and then it's also got a die cut that's further, that's see-through.
Yeah.
There's like 2 different like depths of deep cuts. Kind of cool. But this is not a card. Team Canada sticker autos don't do it for me. Number 4 is an authentic rookies Bedard jersey auto out of 49. So for $3,000 even on April 11th. Listen, so hard. I say such a broken record, Troy. We literally should never be surprised by anything Connor Bedard.
Yep.
But $3,000 for a jersey sticker auto.
Yep.
Out of 49. That's a huge number, man.
Yep. It's a huge one. I mean, I guess in the next one will be, 2,000 that comes up for sale of this.
Yeah. Number 3 top sale is a Bedsy Ricky Ink sweater. Now here's a nice 3-color patch.
Yeah.
Out of 25, sold for $5,500 via eBay April 13th. Oh, we did the whole bit here too. Again, just so you know, it's the top 5 unique selling cards.
Yeah.
And picked each's respective top sale. All of them are on eBay. All verified and Terapeaka's paid for. So just to cover our bases there. Which gets very pertinent to the number 2 sale, which is a draft day marks, the letter B, the top sale of this card, $7,500 US. We did a post on it. That's the most ever paid for any letter draft day marks card. And then number 1, we did another post. This one deserves like a minute or 2 of conversation. We got a lot of feedback on this one.
Yeah,
so on
we
April
got lots
14th,
of feedback.
This Connor Bedard, it's a 2001 like retro crossover rookie. It's out of 5, sold for only $20,000, Troy.
Wow.
No auto, no memorabilia. And when we were driving to the Minnesota Card Show in St. Paul yesterday, we were talking about this, and I told you, like, I probably look dumb admitting this, but if I pulled this card and had no context, like that it had sold for 20 grand, like I went through the thought exercise of what would I list this card for? and buy it, I probably would have listed for like $2,000.
Yeah.
Because it just, that's what it would have felt like worth to me. And so I'm thinking, well, what's the takeaways? Well, A, it shows what I know. And B, I think you have to auction big Connor Bedard cards at this point, don't you? Like you're just leaving like on a card like this where there's no historic, like no sales have occurred.
Yeah.
Like you could be leaving big money.
Yeah,
Like, I would have cost myself $18,000 had I pulled
this card was still a best offer, which is crazy. They just threw it out there.
Yeah, what was it listed for?
Huh?
I wonder what it was listed for, if that was best offer.
It was. That's a great question. I'm gonna try to find the listing. Hold on. Oh, you keep talking.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's all we had to say. But so not a giant shock.
I should say it says fixed price.
Oh, maybe it was.
Yeah, I think it was. I think they just. Oh, 28,000 was what it was listed for. Best offer accepted.
Give him a deal at $20,000, Troy.
Give him a 20 deal. So this means, I mean, this sale right here tells me just be ridiculously high and stupid on your pricing and see what happens.
Yeah, $11 billion.
Yeah, just see what happens.
Here you go. Well, I want to do a little bonus because it's all Bedard cards, and I was curious. It's like, well, what's the top selling not Connor Bedard card? So let's do a drum roll button bar, please, Troy.
Oh, sorry, I just put it up.
Okay. It's Cooch.
Cooch, all right, he's coming back. Forget
it's
what
Nikita
I said.
Kucherov, 2023 All-Star Skills NHL logo patch 101. So for $1,000 US on April 11th. You got to remember though, this is from last year's NHL All-Star game, not the one this year where he completely mailed
where
it
he
in.
Just dogged it.
Now, do you think like the next years will be worth more with that story of him completely just like giving up? Or what?
Yeah, I don't know. Here's the patch he wore when he didn't try. I don't know. That to me doesn't sound like it would add value.
Well, there you go. Top SV Game Use sales so far. Okay, Troy, PWCC. Got to make a mention for them, partner and sponsor. Grateful to them for their support of our show. PWCC will be at the Sport Card Expo as well in Toronto next week. Make sure you stop by and see them booth 416, I think in Hall 5 as well. So we keep mentioning Fixed Price Marketplace as an awesome way to find hockey cards.
Yep.
Many really good deals there. I kind of feel like it's like a nook and cranny in the hobby that gets slept on a little bit. It's like we forget about it, but it's a pretty big nook when you have 5,400 hockey cards and almost 100,000 cards in total. Many of the cards in the FPM or Fixed Price Marketplace, so we like to call them the business, you can place offers on too.
Yep.
So make an offer. Who knows? Right? Some guy wanted $28,000 for a Bedard and a guy offered 20 and he got the card. You never know, right? Offers your cards you can submit an offer on. We're going to do our usual vintage and modern preview on Thursday's show, but I got to do a sneak peek at one card, Troy.
Okay.
In the weekly, there's a huge card. Speaking of Bedsy, we haven't seen one of these yet.
So do you remember this? We got a message from someone saying, how come I haven't seen any of the low, like Bedard high gloss or any of those be pulled? And it was funny. It's like, well, here's one. And I think he was asking like, how much product do you think has been produced then? If we still haven't seen like a high gloss pulled.
Yeah, I think that the answer is maybe not many of them pulled, but then also just because we're like that, it doesn't mean that everybody that opens up cards like immediately runs to Instagram and posts pictures or posts them for sale. So it's a Connor Bedard Young Guns high gloss out of 10. PSA 8.5. Have not seen a high gloss. I haven't seen one that's sold yet. But feeling a lot of eyeballs are going to be on this card on Sunday when the auction closes. And I'm looking at you, Troy. I know you well. I can see it in your face. You're thinking mega bid, aren't you? You're going to go all in. You're going to say, my kids aren't college material anyways. I'm going to wipe out their college funds. I'm going.
No, I am. I'm staying clear away. I can't mortgage the house. Do you want to take a guess what the current bid is?
Lower than I would think. 20,000.
No. It's way less. Remember, we're just 4,300, but we're still so early.
I'm going to ask you the question I asked you yesterday. At PSA 8.5, is this card worth more graded or more if you crack it and sell it raw and leave it up to the imagination of the buyer?
Yeah, with the high gloss so low, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I would probably. Would you at least get it authenticated if you're then not going to grade it?
But a card like this, are you really worried that it's not authentic? Well, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know if someone's figured out how to fake these, but I just, with grading, I get so stinking nervous after your experience of getting a card completely wrecked by PSA. And it's just, again, I don't grade a lot. And that would always be in the back of my head unless I like walked in that building and said, I'm going to sit here and watch you do every part of your process, which they would be like, no, you're not.
You are a naughty PWCC brand ambassador, Troy, because you have forgotten that any raw card submitted to PWCC goes through authentication through NBA authentication.
Oh, there we go.
You get the best of both.
There we go. You got it. So now back to,
maybe that's the play.
Yeah, maybe that's the play. I don't know. I don't know if the grade helps or hurts here.
I think it hurts. I really do.
Yeah. Plus it's such a low number.
If it was a 9, I don't think it does.
Yeah.
Last thing on this, and we're going to be a very, very teeny bit selfish hopefully, but if you plan to like buy this card, hit us up for our affiliate links. And if you do that, Troy has guaranteed me he will come to your house and mow your lawn with a pair of scissors. No. Good luck. Anyone bidding on that card.
Yeah, go for it.
Mailbag time.
Let's do it.
All right, Troy. Discord Mick. What would you do if you hit the Connor Bedard 101? Would you cash in the bounty if there even is still one? Do you think you get more than $1 million for it, or would you add it to your PC? Okay, Troy, you go first.
I'm selling. I'm calling David Adams and asking if the bounty is still alive because we don't know if it is or not because they've seemed to removed all words about it or mention of it on their website. If it is, I'm immediately jumping in my car and driving to, is it Buffalo? Driving to Buffalo and getting my $1 million. Bounty's not active. I'm probably looking at an auction house, maybe Gongshow partner, Slab Sharks, or PWCC, and I'm selling it. I'm taking the win, getting my money, and getting out.
Yeah. Great answer. I'm immediately driving to Buffalo, flying.
I don't want to fly though, because then I have to go through TSA, and there's been too many horror stories of like them would like take it and look at it and break it open because it's in a case or something.
On my way, I'll probably like DM Drake and the Beebs. See if they might want to spend more than $1 million. But I'm cashing in and take the win.
Take the win.
Discord Blade Visionary. I believe that the 2023-24 season has been very much hype season in 2 major sports, with bringing generational talents to the NHL and Bedard, and the NBA and Victor Wembanyama. Which player do you believe delivered more of the goods and came closer to achieving the hype in their respective individual seasons? And which player means more to the success of their respective sports hobby than the other?
There you go. That's all you. I have no clue about Wembanyama. I don't watch basketball unless it's a great tournament. So go for it.
So if you follow basketball, Troy, you'd know that Wembanyama's rookie season has been off the charts, insane, historic ridiculousness.
He is very good in NBA 2K24. I've watched my son play with him.
Oh, okay.
Very good. Very good.
It might be the greatest rookie season ever in the NBA.
Wow, that's cool.
Not just has he lived up to the hype, but he smashed it. I mean, think of like in the terms of hockey, a better rookie year or as good a rookie year as Teemu Selänne.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you look at like Bedard's been good this year, but his rookie year has been nowhere close to historic, in my opinion. Yeah. But the interesting part about this question is, I think Bedard means more to hockey than Wembanyama means more to basketball, the hobby-wise. Because basketball cards are already really popular.
Yeah, and really expensive.
Yeah. And I think in the next few weeks, we're going to have a conversation about, we're probably going to get a lot of opinion, but really kind of digging into how good of a season was this for Connor Bedard?
Yeah.
I mean, is it like, am I going to get struck by lightning right now if I say it was kind of mediocre?
I I think that's a prevailing thought by some, but again, I'm curious how it compares to other 18-year-olds.
And you watch the eye test and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's not like he's like Dino Ciccarelli in goals in there, just like pounding rebounds in, which
Yeah.
no disrespect to that, but you can tell he's like insanely skilled. But I'm just talking about like numbers on paper here, production.
I'm gonna say I'm just without having done enough analysis. I'm gonna say it's better than mediocre because I also remember he was injured for a bit.
But it's not like historic.
Oh, he never said historic.
I did.
You did.
Yeah, well, comparing to Wembanyama, it's nowhere near as good.
Oh, I don't care about that. I mean, I'm just saying Bedard, he's at like generational talent in Bedard's season as an 18-year-old. I think it's a little better than mediocre. That's just what I'm going with.
Okay. You're probably right. All right, Instagram, Dacked Mac fan cards. Any clue how short printed Swagnificent image variation cards are for this year's flagship? You take this one.
I do. So I looked it up actually in TCDB, and Swagnificent in this year, Series 1 is 1 out of 848 packs. And then I'm pretty sure TCDB got that number from the EPAC odds, because if the cards are released on EPAC, they have to put the odds for everything. And so if you look at it there, it shows.
Do you know why?
I'm guessing it might be a Canadian law or something around it.
Like there's like some almost like weird like gambling aspect.
Yeah, I'm guessing there's some regulation where they have to do it. Now, Swagnificent, I know he doesn't ask this, but it was also in 22-23 Series 2. And if you look at the EPAC odds there, it's 1 in every 5,969 packs. So a little better odds in the most recent release in Series 1.
I've actually briefly thought about having a collection of like cards like the Swagnificent. There's a lot of cards produced each year that fall into this category where their odds are like insanely tough and they sell for about 37 cents online.
Is that like Day of the Cup too? Are those
yeah, they sell for they're so impossible. There's just a lot of cards like that. Or like we talked about electrifying. Wasn't that in the last? No, not electrifying.
Electric Ice.
Yeah. They sell for nothing. Super tough odds.
Yeah. And they're all the redemptions, right? Or not redemptions.
Those are EPAC achievements, I think.
Achievements, yeah.
All right, Instagram, the niche hockey card. Stature is my favorite product, but I'm not seeing any release date for 2023-24. Do you know whether a release is being planned or is it being scrapped?
I had a panic attack when I read this question, but because I love Stature. Stature's awesome.
Were you like blowing into a paper bag or something like that?
No, Stature's awesome. I'm guessing it hasn't been announced yet, so we just have to sit and wait. But they have to do Stature again. They don't want to cancel it. 21-22 Stature was released on August 16th of. Is that 23? Is that right? Did I have the right date there? And then
they were like back to back.
Yeah, back to back. Then 22-23 Stature was released on November 22nd, 23. So I'm guessing they're giving it some time to breathe before announcing the next iteration. Plus, Stature is a good product. Plus, it's another product that you can put Bedard in. So I don't think there's any way they're canceling it. It's going to come out.
It's a superlar. It's a superlar. What's happening to me? It is a super popular product.
Yeah.
To your point, there's no way.
Yeah.
No way that in Connor Bedard's year, they're scrapping it. And it's been getting better and better every year.
Yep.
The patch autos in Stature are stupid nice. And I think I'm getting more and more confident that they're figuring out how to get the autos. Thing? How to get the autos to
autos on
those cards.
Yeah, those cards, correct. Yeah.
Where they don't bubble.
Great point.
Instagram, the sport card journey. More of a fun question. You guys tend to joke about players hearing your show when they're on the struggle bus. In baseball, players seem a lot more public about collecting. Do you know of any hockey player that might listen to your show? That's a fantastic question.
Great question.
None that we know of and who are willing to publicly admit it. So
I think one of my goals is I need to talk to Upper Deck at the expo. And just, do they have a name of any NHL? I know you can find articles about NHL guys that collect, but I've never seen a really in-depth one of a current guy. Because I'd love to try to get a guy on that plays in the NHL and collects. I think that'd be awesome.
Well, I think like what the whole Fanatics thing and Michael Rubin's connections
Yeah.
is I'm going to say this and try it on and see if it fits, Troy. I think that he is helping make card collecting cool amongst professional athletes.
Yeah.
Like where they're into it now.
I mean, I know Bedard said in an interview he collected, but I think it's just like all of us as little kids. We just bought hockey cards. And now with the amount of time that these kids have to spend in hockey and to come up in this elite status and everything, I don't know if they have time to do anything else. They don't even know what hockey cards are anymore.
True. All right, California Dave, if you had to name the new Utah NHL team, what name would you choose? You can go first, Troy.
All right. I like the Utah Yetis. And I will say there was stories that there were 6 names were submitted to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for the new Utah NHL team. And here was the 6 names, Josh. Utah Blizzard, Utah Venom, Utah Fury. That will never be it. Utah HC, Utah Hockey Club, and the Utah Yetis. I'm saying Fury won't be because, boy, if you add one extra R, and you're gonna be in a whole nother realm of a world with what's going on there. So I don't think they'll use that one. But I've always liked the Utah Yetis from the first time I saw that as a suggestion.
That's my favorite too.
Yeah.
A couple notes in this.
I'll just say next year, it sounds like next year they're going to be a no name, like the Utah Hockey Club.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that they're going to. There's just no time that if you listen to the Gary Bettman, Alex Marullo press conference, he was asked about the Utah name and to choose a name, design a logo, design the colors, unveil it, trademark it, all that stuff. It's not going to happen. What's also interesting to me too, though, because I saw the names submitted by the Utah ownership group.
Yeah.
What do you think of them going? It seems like that there's a little bit of interest to go like the soccer bit on the FC, like football club, sort of hockey club. Do you like that vibe for hockey teams, or do you think that should be more of a...
I'm fine if they want to do that for we have no name. We're just going to call ourselves the Utah Hockey Club.
But what about long term?
Long term, no. I like mascots and NHL teams having an identity. Now there is something cool about like Premier League soccer, or it's Chelsea Football Club, but then the thing is, all those teams do have nicknames, right? That they call their fans, or they call them. The only one I can think of is like the English national team, or like the Lionesses, and it's. I think they all do have some kind of nickname. It's not on their official name, but again, I'm not a big Premier League soccer guy, so I don't know.
I think Utah Yetis are my favorite. My second is, and I'm a little bit undecided. I'm really for like the Cam Loops Moose Jaw Wheat Kings Millionaire.
There you go. Got them all in one. I love it.
Discord JT Hockey has 2 questions. I know people generally don't care for in-person autos on cards unless it's for their PC. Does this change for players who rarely or never sign with Upper Deck? Go for it, Troy.
So this was an interesting question. We got this because I was talking to a guy at the Minnesota Card Show. I don't know if you were talking to him at the same time, Josh, but it was on Saturday, and I cannot remember his name because I'm a bonehead. But he was a big Paul Kariya guy. And he said the big problem with that is Paul Kariya does not sign. Doesn't sign at all. So I think if you have a player in that kind of realm where they just do not sign, getting an on-card auto some way, somehow, that adds to the demand and the price of that card. So that's where I can see it really the demand being increased for it, is if there's someone known as they just do not sign, they don't do the card shows. Who knows if they'll sign in person if you run into them on the street. But I thought that was a very interesting anecdote to this question. Yeah, in-person autos are fine. I have nothing against them. I don't seek them out or anything. But if it's on a card, maybe. I don't know.
They have to be well placed and well thought out.
Yeah.
I don't like them like on a Gretzky rookie where you can't see half the auto, where it kind of ruins the picture of Gretzky and then ruins the auto, that sort of thing.
Well, I'll get like an example is our friend Neil, Irish Flyers collector. Like he thinks out the pen color, the pen type. I mean, he really goes into thinking about how that auto is going to look. That's, I think, a good way to think about it too.
It's funny, like when you hear stuff from guys like about Korea not signing, and then you think to yourself, it's like, geez, I don't know if I've ever seen a Paul Korea auto. It's like probably doesn't sign because
He does, and I mean, I did a search for it, and I found a Reddit string where a guy was like, "Yeah, I sent a letter to Korea back in his rookie season. He sent me this. It's actually a card signed." And I was like, "Oh, keep that forever,
no
man."
kidding. All right, the next or second question from JT
Yeah.
Hockey is there any sort of premium for cards produced after a team wins the cup? For example, Vegas cards and 2023-24 products, you'd assume the picks are from the previous year when they won the cup. Are pictures always from the previous season except for rookies? I don't know if they're always from the previous
Yeah, I
year,
don't know
but
either.
I think Upper Deck probably used the image that best fits the card. I don't know if I don't think photo makes that big of a difference, to be honest with you. It's more going to be memorabilia. Like if there's some sort of piece of
Yeah,
mem that was either from the Stanley Cup Finals or from that year where there's enough provenance where it tells you like the time frame of when it came from, then I could see a premium. What do you think,
yeah.
Troy?
No, that I'm dead on with you. This is where I just don't know enough about the secret sauce and how they're made. But yes, memorabilia pieces, at least to me, that's where it gets really cool.
Hmm. Okay, next question. Top Shelf Cookie Sniper 88. Do we know the list of boxes to buy at the expo where you get the free promo packs? Yes, we do. It is the 2023-24 Series 2. Then there's 5 2022-23 products. Credentials, Clear Cut, Parker's Champions, Ice, and OPG Platinum. Instagram, Distressed Clouds. What is Thursday like at the Sport Card Expo? Are the vendors there? All the vendors are there, Distress. And it's really like, I think most people would say if you want to get your shot at the best of the best cards, you're going to want to
Yeah.
be there for the preview on Thursday night. It's actually when the dealers will do deals with each other.
Yep.
Like they'll mingle around, and
They'll do it when they're setting up and stuff.
when they're setting up, you're right,
Yeah.
before they get there. So it's definitely a worthwhile day to go to the show, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Plus, usually less crowded, but yeah, definitely. If you can do it, do it.
Oh, I love tinfoil hat questions, Troy.
Oh, I missed this one.
Instagram, Taylor A. Wood says tinfoil hat time. Do you think the extremely high Bedard prices are people buying from themselves to drive up comps? Taylor, I don't. Because when you're talking about like let's take a look at that game used car that's sold for 20 grand.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, $2,800 in fees?
Yeah.
Something like that. That's a big risk to take a $2,000 plus risk to create a comp when you have no idea what's going to happen to the market down the road. And has it ever happened? Sure, maybe like one or two guys have tried it, but at a frequent enough scale by enough people where it materially changes the hobby market for someone, I just don't think that it's that prevalent. Do you though, Troy?
I'm never surprised anymore. I don't put it past some people that if they think they can make a huge markup afterwards, that makes up for that huge fee amount that they had to pay. And I don't know if people have figured out a game where you can, you know, pay and then somehow get the feedback by complaining and doing
Or
it with
refund
yourself
or
with
something like
different
that.
accounts and refunds. I think it's a great question. I don't know if I'm trying to be like, I hope not, but it wouldn't surprise me. It doesn't put it past. I don't put anything past anyone anymore on like stuff that people try to do. So probably not a great answer, but
Next question, Instagram, McCleb Hockey Cards. Great question. What's the average markup in percentage that an LCS makes when selling a box of cards? It's a great question. I just don't know if there's a direct answer to this.
we need a card shop to just message us and say they have all the stats. Here's our average. We won't say your name. How about that? And we'll just use the data.
To your point, though, it's an average. Like there's not like a flat typical percentage because there's a lot of variables that go into it. So it depends on like what their distribution situation looks like.
Yep.
Do they have a direct relationship with Upper Deck? Has it been long enough where they get a lot of their product? I think we've been told that they'll typically have a higher margin on product they get directly from Upper Deck, and makes sense a lower margin from distributors because there's one more person with their hand in the cookie jar. And then there's this whole slew of things where, like, we're told, and I don't know how true this is or not, by hobby shops where they'll say, well, to get series 2, you have to buy a whole bunch of these other products that you lose money on. And so I don't really know, because to some degree, when you talk to hobby shops, their kind of incentive is to communicate in a manner that they never make money on anything. But I'm not exactly sure how true that. I kind of feel like sometimes hobby shops downplay that a little bit.
Yeah, you never know. It's
but I could be wrong. All right, last question, Troy. New first time question asker, W Celio. Is Billy as handsome in person as he is on your podcast? That's a great question, W. We get asked this literally like none of the time. But if you want to know, I would say Billy is very striking in person, maybe devilishly handsome, somewhere of a cross between James Bond, The Rock, Jimmy Fallon, Sting, the musician, not the wrestler, maybe Legends of the Fall, Brad Pitt. And yeah, he's a good looking man. What do you think, Troy?
I like it. Billy's a great guy. William or W. So are we sure it's Billy? No, this is W. Cilio. We're not sure about who this is.
It could be Walter. It could be
Walter.
It'd be
great question.
Wayne.
Great question.
Great question. Well, Troy, we actually have personal pickups. It's kind of amazing. I'll let you go first.
I do. I got some. So 2 boxes. I know I said it was war chesting, but 2 boxes of Parker's Champions at the Minnesota Card Show 2.0, whatever we're calling it. Went by a booth. Guy had them listed for $100 a box. No tax, I don't think. Unless you include that. But it was a great price, so I bought 2. They got nothing, basically. No autos. Got some napkin patches or jersey pieces of Tarasenko was one of them, and Officer Bob. And the best card is probably a Parker's mini wrapper back of Brett Hull.
Very cool card.
Very cool card, but boy, that was it. That was all I got. So.
I tried really hard not to buy anything because, again, I wanted to go to the expo. Then I saw this card, and I had to do it. It wasn't super expensive. It's a 2010-11 OPC Wayne Gretzky retro black rainbow out of 100. It's raw. I just think it's an awesome looking card. So I had to pick it up. All right, Troy. That's our show. It's travel week. Got to head to the expo Wednesday morning. So I'm very excited about that. But if you like the episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, you want to support us, want to chat with us on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider a $5 a month donation. Join our $1.99 support level tier on Patreon. Link is in the show description on both podcast apps and on YouTube. You can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, and click on the Become a Patron link. You can go to the Patreon website, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gongshow, or it's in our Instagram and TikTok profile too. We are on social media. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures, LLC. Have a great start to your week, and we will chat with you all on Thursday.